Welcome to Pera's Playbook. This is your host, Alex Pera. Let's open up our playbook and see who our guest is. Please enjoy. Welcome to episode 134 of Pera's Playbook. Today I'm joined by Tom Paolino. He's a hockey player turned actor. He played Division I hockey at Brown University, and he's acted in a variety of things. Some episodes of TV shows like FBI Most Wanted, Blue Bloods, Law and Order, SVU, Nash Bridges, and then he's been in some movies like All I Wish, The Purge, Election Year, Army of the Damned, Opposite Sex, Underdog, Outside Providence, and Lucy's. He's been in a bunch of other stuff, but that's just to name a few. So we're gonna talk hockey and acting and who knows what else we'll get into on this podcast. But Tom, I'm glad to have you on. How's it going?
Great to be here, Alex. Great to be here. It's going great.
Yeah, it's a fun time of year. I was talking with somebody else with the holidays. You got Christmas and New Year. You got sports. Everything's great right now. I mean, the bowl games for football, hockey, and basketball are both kind of underway. And if you like winter, obviously the winter weather's coming in. So I think it's a fun time of year.
It's great. I love this little segment between Christmas and New Year's is there's a stillness about these few days that I love. It's
Yeah.
unlike any other time. Yeah.
It is, yeah. I work at a high school now, so I get the school breaks, which is kind of nice. I missed that for a few years when I was in college, and then I was in forestry for a little bit, and it's kind of nice to have that built-in break, that time that you're talking about there at Christmas and New Year's, and just have a little bit of time to reset.
What do you do at the high school, Alex?
I'm a parapro. Um I do a variety of things. We have like an online room and a testing center. And I'm there in the morning, and then I go to Algebra 2 and biology and a study hall, and I help kids with their homework and kind of kids can come in after school, and so it's kind of
Sure, a paraprofessional. Are you
yeah.
coaching at all? Because I know you're a big sports guy.
I'm reffing. So I've started reffing football middle school through varsity and basketball middle school through varsity. So that's been keeping me busy.
You're wearing the black and white stripes, dude.
Yes, yeah.
My least
Yeah.
favorite person on the rink.
Yeah. Yeah. It's there we're definitely there's certain schools like in our local area, where the fans love the refs a little bit less than other schools. There's places where it's known that you want to get in and you want to kind of get out because the the fans get a little bit rowdy. But it's
Yeah.
fun. I enjoy it. You got
Yeah.
to
Oh,
have
yeah.
thick
It's great.
skin, but
Yeah, no, I've been coaching a lot of hockey. I coached the junior Rangers and the junior Islanders, and I have clinics running at World Ice Arena here in New York City, and oh, it's great. I mean, I just even if I show up at the rink and haven't had like a full 8 hours of sleep, I smell the cold air of the Zamboni and all of a sudden I'm like, let's go. I mean, even right now I'm getting like chills. I'm like, let's go. Where's these kids? I want to get these kids on the ice. You know?
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. So let's dive into some hockey here. Let's go. Like, how old were you when you started skating? I know a lot of people. I mean, they start before they can walk almost.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was living in North Providence, Rhode Island. They built a rink on Mineral Spring Avenue, and I was 6 years old. I stepped on that rink, and let me tell you, Alex, I couldn't stand up at all. And in fact, I had back in those days, they would give you like a metal folding chair, and you would push that thing around. But I have pictures of myself just covered in snow because I was on the ice instead of standing up most of the time. But I loved it. I had my dad's buddy was his son was Clark Donatelli, and Clark Donatelli played for the Boston University Terriers, and then went on to the Olympic team. And we went to Clarky's house, and he gave me some of his equipment, and I just ate it up, man. I mean, I could not get enough of it.
So, I mean, playing hockey, at what point did you kind of like realize, hey, like maybe I can continue this, go play college, and like what point did you get to that point? How old were you?
Yeah, so I used to go to Providence College hockey camp. This is back when Lou Lamoriello was coaching the Providence College team, and of course he went on to be the president of the New Jersey Devils and everything. But Lou ran a camp, an overnight camp that I used to go to every summer from 8 to 18. I used to go there like 4 weeks a summer, and there was a coach there, Tom Eccleston. Now, Coach Eccleston's father was a legend in Rhode Island hockey. He was a coach at Brown at one time, and actually a coach at Providence College himself. And his son was a terrific mentor of mine, and he was a coach at Providence College hockey camp. And I always loved Mr. Eck. He was just funny and awesome. And this one day he came up to me as about 15 and he said, I'm going to this prep school called the Hill School in Pennsylvania, and I'd like you to come play hockey with me for me. And I thought, wow, then maybe, geez, I had never, I mean, I'd had some, some moments, but um, I never really was recruited to play hockey anywhere. So that kind of, I was to go to prep school and play hockey for Mr. Eck. Let's do that, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
And
kind of
yeah,
the kickstart into, like,
yeah.
hey, I'm actually pretty good at this, Somebody
Yeah,
thinks I'm
man.
good.
Yeah, and when I got to the Hill School, it was all boys at the time, and it was I was very, very focused, and I just lived, ate, and slept hockey, and I got good quick at that. There was a rink there, and we used to play over the Christmas and Thanksgiving break. Um, in fact, Mr. Eck used to get on the ice with us. I mean, it was an outdoor rinks. It was super fast and super crisp. And oh man, those were good times.
So did that kind of change your thoughts? I mean, did you start thinking about making hockey a career? And I mean, was that on the mind?
I was always, my dream was always to play at Brown. That was my dad went to Brown, my grandfather went to Brown, and I just wanted to step onto Mayan Auditorium and that rink there and play for the Brown team so I was I played it. I played with some guys who went on to play pro, like Brian Leach. I played against Brian Leach in the Avon Old Farms tournament. That's when Brian was playing for Avon. Jimmy Dowd, who went on to the Boston Bruins, and a bunch of guys from Rhode Island, Matthew Schneider, who went to the Canadians, a bunch of those Rhode Island kids who went to Mount St. Charles, and I played against in particularly in Hockey Night in Boston. Um, but I wasn't a pro prospect, man. I was just like Rudy. You got the Notre Dame
Yeah.
shirt on. I was like the Rudy of hockey. Like I just worked twice as hard and made the most of it. Yeah.
So yeah, that's some pretty big names that you're mentioning kind of playing. I mean, but that's if you look at hockey, there's a few different areas where all the great hockey players come from if you're looking at the states. I mean, you've got out east where the whole Boston, Rhode Island, I mean everything up there. There's tons of hockey players coming out of there. You've got like Michigan and Minnesota, and I mean nowadays you're starting to get pockets in California
Yep.
popping up where they're producing it, but back in the day, it was these couple areas. That's where everybody came out of.
For sure. Yeah. No, I mean those were the days, and then and now they play year round, right? So it's
Right.
it's it's hard to even compare what it was like then and what it's like now. But we had some good players, man. The kid I was captain with at the Hill School, Steve McCool, was drafted by the Canadians, and man, he was like a wild Mustang on the ice, Stephen. Well, he went to Boston College, and David Emma, who won the Hobie Baker Award at Boston College. I played against David Emma in Hockey Night in Boston. He was on Team Rhode Island. I mean, those were just, it was such a great place to be, and kids need that. Kids need a constructive, positive environment, learn to be on a team. I had the best coaches in the world. Lou Lamorello and Mr. Eck and Mike Gaffney and Eddie Gallagher from Belmont Hill Prep. I mean, they were Tim Taylor from Yale. I mean, it was just a great way to grow up on a hockey rink like that.
Yeah. And translates well to life and everything else you're going to do. I mean, that working as a team, whatever job anyone gets, I mean, most of the time you have to work as a team to figure out whatever you're doing. You work for a company, wherever you work, sports, it prepares you for that. for
A
life.
1000%, man. It prepares you for that, and it prepares you to believe in yourself, to apply yourself and see what you're really capable of.
Yeah. So when you were at Brown, you had an injury that kind of a serious injury early on in your career.
Yeah, I did as a freshman in a game against Northeastern, and yeah, that was serious. I was on crutches for 4 months and rehabbed for 4 months, and I came back. Uh, but what I like to say is it was a blessing actually, because I started acting, and I went to Brown, to play hockey, and of course we knew it was an excellent school, is an excellent school, but I had no idea what the theater department was. I had never acted in my life, um, except in a TV commercial, actually, when I was 6 years old. But I didn't pursue Brown because of their theater department. So when I started taking classes there, acting classes, I was just, it was perfect. I was done with hockey and on to something else.
So did you start taking the classes when you got injured?
Yeah, yeah, right after. Yeah, I had my first class was Theater Arts 22 with Professor Lowry Marshall, and you know Brown had a pool, a talent pool that was so deep. You want to talk about a deep bench? I mean, you know, kids who had been acting all their lives from New York City and California, and families who were in the business, and they were inspiring to be in class with and in plays with, and so I really lucked out there.
So when you initially kind of started taking acting classes, did you think that you were going to make a career out of it, or was it like, hey, these are just some extra electives I can take? And
My mom is really an actress. Worked in the theater at Trinity Repertory in Providence. It's in my blood. And when I got to work on scenes and started getting cast in plays at Brown, I thought this is this is this is what I want. I love this. I love performing. I love literature. I love education, and theater really brings all of those things together. It's really about, what it means to be a human being, and we share that.
yeah. So you mentioned on stage, do you prefer stage or screen? Like, is there one that you enjoy doing more?
They're the same and they're different. I like to say that theater is lightning and film and TV is lightning in a bottle. So the film and television moments of excitement are like they're happy at well, Christopher Reeve said a great film is a combination of happy accidents caught on tape, caught on film. They're just like in The Godfather when he says, uh, you know, what that is, he says, take the gun, leave the cannolis. That was an improvised scene, and those cracks of lightning that inspired spontaneous, fresh energy that when it's caught on film, it's like, I mean, it's amazing, really, what it does to people. And the theater is there's nothing like being in a play because it's live. There's no second take, and that is its own lightning, right? It's lightning on a bigger scale, right? Because it's not in a bottle. It's in a proscenium stage where you have to reach the back row, and the whole scale is bigger. So uh, the principles of great acting are the same, but the scale is different.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if you like you said, it's live. So I mean, if you screw up, you can't just cut that clip and we're gonna
No, you
try it
can't.
again and get our best one. It's kind of like a live sports game. If you screw up in the middle of your hockey game, it's you gotta
Everybody
keep.
sees it.
Yeah, exactly. Um, so once you got into kind of your acting at Brown. I mean, what were the next steps in to kind of work your way into starting to do TV shows and movies and whatnot?
Yeah, so I came to New York, and The function of the theater department at Brown is not really to teach you the craft. It's more to open a door that you may want to pursue, you know, on after Brown. And so I really didn't have a craft as an actor, and most of my friends from Brown went to graduate school, but um, I thought that I was ready to come to the major market in New York, and I wasn't. So I I was cute and brave, so I got an agent. But I didn't book anything, and before long, I lost that agent and realized that I needed to study, and that's when I stopped auditioning and studied with Sanford Meisner. Now, Sanford Meisner, you can look him up. He taught some of the greatest actors in the world, Gregory Peck, Robert Duvall, Mary Steenburgen. I mean, the list goes on and on. Steve McQueen. And I was lucky to be in Sanford Meisner's final class, where I really learned things that I still use as an actor every time I act. So that really prepared me. And then I went back to the market, got an agent, started booking. Um, so it is a craft, there are actors like Jennifer Lawrence, for example, who never studied acting, and I think that's good for film and television if you're very gifted. But theater acting is not film and television acting, and there is a definite craft you need if you want to do both.
Yeah. It's kind of, well, you get a nice blend then, I guess, right? Some actors that never do it, they're gonna maybe have a little bit different style than somebody who studied acting. They're gonna have different experiences. The way they approach a movie, I'm guessing, would be different than somebody like you who studied it. Um, Same thing with like you see in sports once in a while, right? You get these athletes that played one sport and then they give another one a shot. Like rugby players, now all of a sudden they're playing American football, never played it before in their life. And then granted, there's similarities, but they're going to have a different approach to it. You see guys that played college basketball and now they're playing in the NFL because they had big size or something. And I feel like that's kind of a similar um, kind of similarity there.
Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite acting teachers is Larry Moss, and what Larry Moss says is this is a craft, and once you know that, you're responsible to do your homework, just like you do your homework in school. You know, uh, and it's such a personal thing, Alex, that what might be right for Jennifer Lawrence is might not be right for another actor. Um, uh, so I think ultimately what we all do share is you learn what you learn, and then when you show up to set or it's opening night, you really need to let all the technique go and just be present. That's
Yeah,
one thing that is consistent. No matter how you get to the moment when the lights go up, you got to let it go and live.
right. Just you gotta. I feel like sometimes in life, if you aren't present in the moment, it can kind of slow you down and you might not be able to do it as well as if, some people are good right off the cuff. They can just do things. They don't think. And then sometimes if you think too hard, then you start to screw up because you're like, oh, wait a second. What if in sports, in your job, in school, in acting, whatever it is, if you're good, if you can just kind of let the stress and the anxiety go and be just in the moment and just snapping your finger going.
Yeah, my third acting mentor is a guy named Jack Plotnick, and what he says is when you go to audition, the casting director sees a guy in a suit, portraying a lawyer, let's say. But what they don't realize is that you actually are love, because you love acting so much, and you're not a guy in a suit. You're an expression of joy. And whenever you see a performance that really is illuminated, it's because the person is just having that blissful, joyful experience doing something they love. And it's not just acting, right? It's like when you see a Michael Jordan, playing basketball, he's doing something that he loves so much that he can't stop just radiating love. And so I think about that a lot when I go audition is, and it takes the pressure off. It's just like this is I love this, and I'm not here to get a job. I'm here to show them what love looks like.
Yeah. And sometimes I feel like you hear stories where it's not acting, it's true emotion. Like in I think of It's a Wonderful Life, that scene where he's at the bar and he's depressed. That was all real emotion because he had just gotten Jimmy Stewart had gotten back from the war. And he kind of had like an emotional moment there. It wasn't fake crying. It wasn't,
A
that was
thousand
all
percent,
real
Alex.
him.
I just caught a glimpse of that movie over the holiday, and you're so right on there. That is a great example of it, and it's undeniable. It's we're social by nature, so everybody feels that. And acting is an empathic art form, especially if you're having an anxious experience. The audience will have an anxious experience. If you're having a loose, fully realized emotional experience, the audience will have that too. So. Yeah, that's a great example.
Yeah. So you've worked in a lot of TV shows and movies, and you've worked on, you know, projects with a lot of big actors. And do you have a favorite project that you worked on for one reason or another? I
I've
noticed you
done
have, through a lot of your shows, you've been detectives in different movies and
sure,
TV
sure.
shows, and
I'll answer that two ways. I just did an episode of FBI Most Wanted with Dylan McDermott, who also studied with Sanford Meisner, and um he he's a very quiet guy, he doesn't chat, he's not chatty. And the scene was just it was just me and him. So, you do a take and then you go back while they reset, and it's just me and Dylan McDermott standing there, and he's not talking to me, and I'm thinking he doesn't want, I'm not going to talk to him. I mean, I'm not anything against the guy, but he's not saying anything. And they had told me this guy's a quiet guy. Um, but at the end, I turned to him because we had done some good scene work together, and I felt more comfortable. It was like one take left, and I said, we both studied with Sanford Meisner, and he's like, oh, well, and he was like so nice about it, and I liked that. That was and he was just, you can see it in the episode. Like, he really got in my face, and I felt that. Like, that was like an organic exchange we had there. That was fun. And then I love Shakespeare. I've done a bunch of Shakespeare, and I did Cymbeline recently, which is um has one of Shakespeare's best villains, Iachimo, and I got to play Iachimo. And that Shakespeare, from a writing standpoint, there's no comparison. I mean, it's poetry, but it's more than poetry. It's poetry and prayer all wrapped up in a story that tells lessons that you can pass on to your grandkids. I mean, it's the top of the mountain, and you feel that when you act it.
yeah, I really enjoy Shakespeare too. I know, most kids are forced to read it in school, and a lot of kids don't enjoy it. Especially at that young age, it's hard to appreciate it. But there were certain ones I like. I love Midsummer Night's Dream. That's my
Sure.
favorite. I really enjoy reading it. I think the movie adaptation is great. It's got an awesome cast. I think Shakespeare's got a lot of great stuff. When I was in high school, we had a travel club where you could join the club, fundraise for a few years, and then you go on a trip. And we went to England, Ireland, and Wales. And when we were over there, we got to go to Stratford upon Avon and
Dude.
see Shakespeare's birthplace. And they got so much going on there. Like outside of one of the gift shops, they kind of had like a courtyard, and there was an actor and an actress,
Yep.
and you could just say any play, or hey, do this scene, and they would just off the cuff, no prep, they would reenact that scene for you, which is just so cool, the whole experience. But yeah, I love Shakespeare. It's
I was
great
I
stuff.
was at I know exactly what you're talking about. Those actors were there when I went to Stratford upon Avon
Yeah,
last year and saw Shakespeare's birthplace. And yes. I love Stratford upon Avon. There's an energy in the air there that's different than anywhere in the world that I've been. And I went to his his birthplace and his grave there, and what an experience. I had just done Pericles, and I love Midsummer Night's Dream. I played Oberon, and I love Midsummer Night's Dream. So yeah, no, I'm looking forward to. You might want to come to New York, dude, because Jake Gyllenhaal and is doing Othello with Denzel Washington.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah, they're going to be on Broadway in March. I think it opens.
Oh, that'll be good.
Yeah,
That's a yeah, it's always I think it's refreshing. It's cool when these major actors, major screen actors still do theater like that. You know,
yeah,
like Denzel, I mean, he's one of the biggest actors in Hollywood. He's been in so many major films. Um, and Gladiator 2 coming out right now. I mean, he's got a lot of, but to do Shakespeare, to take it back to those kind of the like that like we talked about, different kind of acting where you've got to get it right, and the craft is so pure. And what better to do it than Shakespeare? I mean, that's
yeah.
the kind of the pinnacle.
1,000%, 1,000%. Yeah, now we're in fact my theater company is going to do Twelfth Night this year. So we'll see. I would love to play Malvolio. That's another great part of shit that Shakespeare wrote. There's so many.
Yeah, there's so many great characters. I mean, he created so many great characters,
Yeah. Yeah. A genius.
villains and heroes.
Yes. Yes.
So if you could do a project with any actor, like is there any actor that you just would like, I think it'd be great to work with that. I really admire the way they approach it, their craft, or for whatever reason.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, as an artist, your job is really to ultimately have something to say, like, you know, w and when I look at the body of work that Al Pacino has put together, I feel like what he's saying is very similar to what I have to say, which is if you look at Serpico, even a movie like Scarface, he's exposing corruption. He's exposing internal corruption and external corruption, and really they're mirror images of each other. And and then if you love Shakespeare, Alex, you really might want to look at the documentary that he made about Richard III called "Looking for Richard," um, where you see him in rehearsals to play that amazing part, and the people that he picks to be with him. Judith um, Judith Molina, who played his mom in Dog Day Afternoon, and Al Pacino for me is the top of the mountain. You don't hear about him, molesting kids or betting on the Patriots, or you don't hear anything like that. You know why? Because he's too busy working, because he's an artist and apparently a very down to earth guy. He's he's sober. I've been sober almost 20 years. I just feel like I saw him speak one time recently. And he's got guys in his 80s. He's up out of his seat. He's like a child. He's amazing to me. And so we'll see what the universe has in mind. But I also am on a mission to expose corruption, internal and external, and I would love to work on something like that with Al.
You definitely have those kind of two types of people in the professional sports world, in the TV and entertainment world, where you've got the people that always seem to find themselves in trouble for doing stuff they shouldn't be because all they care about is the fame and the money. And then you've got the people that just love their craft, whatever it is. You've got certain athletes that, I mean, they're just so all they do is work, and they're just trying to be the best they can for their team, for themselves. And same thing with actors, like you said. So I mean, you've definitely got both sides of it, and there's definitely one that's more, it's hard to root for the people when you know they're up to no good. Like, I sometimes I have a hard time watching a movie and be like, oh, I'm a fan of this guy when you know they're not a good person.
I
Same thing with athletes.
1,000%. I feel exactly the same way, man. I'm um some people say, well, but don't let it take anything away, but I feel the same way. If it's hard to be at peace with that kind of energy, even if the story is good and everything like that. I mean, um there's a lot of good media out there, so there's
Yeah.
no shortage of something else to
No,
watch.
no, definitely not. So, a project that you're currently working on, Lawyers Gone Bad.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so this is it, man. I mean, this is my my passion project, and I like to talk about the why, like what's my why? And my why is that promises kept is going to heal the world. That's what Lawyers Gone Bad is about. And I really believe that. I really believe that when a father keeps a promise to a child, when a district attorney keeps a promise to the public at large, everybody's trust gets nourished a little bit. And love is trust, and we need more love in the world today. So that's my purpose in Lawyers Gone Bad, is to talk directly about when promises are broken. Everybody suffers, and it's not just you. Everybody. That, I mean, the Native American culture said that. Think about 7 generations from now, what your actions are going to, what kind of impact. And I think we've forgotten that today, but it's a real thing, and I have humor as a device to make that message palatable, thanks to a terrific writer named Julie Ohura, who's also going to direct it. Um, in fact, tomorrow, it's funny that we're talking about this. I'm going to ask my wealthy cousin for $200,000 to make Lawyers Gone Bad, and I've raised 100,000 myself, um, and it's time to ask my cousin um, for the rest. And so we'll see what he says.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Thank you.
So, what's the timetable, right? If you get enough money to start actually working on this, what's your timetable on producing it and, filming and getting it out there?
Yeah, well, it's funny that you should ask, my friend, because I'm going to show you right now. I've got a background setting to none, so I can do exactly that. Now, this is my this is my timetable right here. This is a threefold that I got at the 99-cent store. It's sitting on my bed right now. But you'll see that the left and right sides here, right?
Yeah.
This and the other side are going to be where the images are. Images of Rhode Island, where we're going to shoot, etc. And this centerpiece is where the timeline is. So we're going to shoot August 1st or August 4th to the 29th. It's a 20-day shoot. We're going to be in pre-production for 4 weeks from June 30th to July 31st. We're going to take weekends off, and we're going to have post-production through January 2nd, 2026, and be ready to deliver our film in 2026. I've got a wonderful distributor, Carrie Solomon and Chuck Konzelman. These guys made a movie called Unplanned in 2019 for $6 million. It made $22 million. They made God Isn't Dead in 2014 for $2 million. It made $65 million. And they love Lawyers Gone Bad. They started their own distribution company, and they just wrote us a letter of intent for worldwide distribution. So as soon as the movie's completed, it goes straight to Carrie and Chuck at SDG Releasing. And you know, I know it's going to succeed. It is accomplished because I've got such a great script and such a great team, um, and so many brilliant actors that I'm praying and meditating about daily. And it's all about the team, Alex. It's when a team succeeds, it's because they love each other. They care about each other. The coach cares and loves the people on the team, and they love him, and they love each other, and they sacrifice for each other. So that's what I'm creating with Lawyers Gone Bad.
Yeah, that's exciting. Yeah, a good message is obviously important because it'll make people. There's so much kind of garbage that gets put out too, and just stories that have no real meaning. There's no purpose, and I feel like one of the great things with film, and like music too, if there's a good purpose, a good message behind the song, behind the TV show, behind the movie, that a lot of people can get behind that and they're interested to see that, and that definitely helps with having a film succeed. So I'm sure you're going to be very busy over the next
Yeah.
months to year here with producing. Is that kind of like your main focus right now?
Yeah, it's my exclusive focus. I booked a movie in Arizona, which shoots June 12th to the 20th. Um, and it looks like I may have booked another one in Boston, which shoots in March. But I'm fundraising in January and February. We're going into pre-production on June 30th, and we're shooting in August. And by the end of the year, we'll have our film in the can. So it's a huge undertaking, but the purpose is what drives the energy to accomplish great things. And so we have that.
Yeah. I'm excited. I'll be waiting for it, looking for it now, especially that I
Thank you.
had you on the podcast. Yeah, excited to see that come out. Um, well, why don't as we kind of wrap up the episode here, we'll kind of end on a little bit more hockey and music because I'm a big music guy. But
Yeah,
first,
me too.
coaching. You mentioned coaching, the love for coaching, and kind of how just being around that hockey atmosphere, even if
Yeah.
you're having this tired day, once you get in the rink, that's kind of you're home away from home and you're raring and ready to go. When did you start coaching hockey?
Well, I got the job at World Ice Arena about a year ago, and I it's World Ice Arena in Flushing, Queens is mostly a figure skating community, but I've built that hockey program up, man. I've got now I got the brothers and the sisters and they're all coming now. I was on the ice yesterday morning at 7:30 in the morning with a doctor who wants to play hockey. A lot of adults who they skated when they were kids and they're like, I just love this. And they bought the equipment and they're like, show me how do I stop? It's like that's a big thing, right? They can skate,
Oh
but can
yeah,
they stop?
yeah, I
Um,
can't stop.
so I mean, I just for me, having had such a serious injury, I didn't step into a hockey rink for decades. I mean, and for me, it was such a big part of my childhood and such a big part of who I am to cancel that and freeze that. It wasn't good for me. So they're the beneficiaries of my like renaissance with this game that I grew up with, and they just they just feed off of it, like. And I keep those kids moving. I'll tell you, I see coaches, they talk. We don't do much talking when I am out there with them. They hit that ice and I keep those kids moving. And um, I teach at a prep school now in on the Upper East Side, and those kids they're a little soft to tell you the truth, Alex. And I tell them, no, we're not. This isn't a debating society. Get on the goal line because we're going to go from the goal line to the blue line and back, and then to the red line. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
I'm the coach, and your job is to skate.
Yeah.
What I mean? Like I have a great time with them, but with a twinkle in my eye. I mean, I'm not a jerk about it, but and the World Ice Arena is a mostly Asian population, and let me tell you, they want their children to reach their potential, and I relate to that. So they love me. They don't mind me being tough.
Yeah. Well, it's all, I feel like some kids don't understand that when they're playing a sport, they think, oh, coach is a jerk because they're making me run and they're making me skate. And all. I mean, they don't really understand in the moment. I feel like most people get it when they grow up and they look back and they, oh, okay, I understand now why we were pushed hard.
Yes.
But I think you're right with kids, some kids being softer now. I see it now in a local area. Talk to coaches and they feel like they can't coach as hard as they used to, and almost some kids they don't seem as interested in winning. They're just, whatever, we're out here and that's fine. That's all that matters. But a lot of places that had like a local school around here, a tradition of like 15 straight district titles and then regional appearances in basketball, and now they're just satisfied if they get 10 wins or what. It doesn't seem to matter anymore. I wonder what that change is and why kids don't care as much
Yeah.
anymore.
Well, I think it's just fear, Alex. It's just we've there's it's such a litigious society now, and people are getting, it's more complicated than when I was a kid, and it was you're riding your bike around and come home when it gets dark, like it's a lot of phones, and it's
Social
not good,
media.
man. It's not good. That's why I'm so blessed to be a coach and get these kids on the ice where there's no phone, there's no, it's just you and your own, character and your teammates. So yeah, we've got a road to hoe these days, man, for
Yeah.
sure. And look, let's face it, nothing feels better than winning. Everybody's won something at some point, and some people lose, and that's just life. There's
Hmm.
nothing wrong with life. I audition sometimes I get cast and sometimes I don't. And when I don't get cast, sometimes I really wanted that part, and that is disappointing. But that's life. You can't run
Hmm.
away from life. You want to embrace life. You want to
Yeah.
be in your life, and that means darkness, light, and everything in between.
Right. And you should always, I feel like, yeah, I mean, there's going to be losses, but everyone, I feel like, should always strive to do their best and to win. If you're playing a sport, don't go in there saying, well, I don't really care if we win or lose. Like, try your best, try to win. And if you don't win, it's not the end of the world. Take that, use it, come back, try to be better next time. The same thing with jobs and acting, like you said. Nobody goes into an acting gig or a job interview and say, well, yeah, well, whatever. Who really cares? I mean, you should go in wanting it, and if you don't get it, regroup, go back
Yeah.
again.
There's a distinction between want and need, right? Like my acting teacher says, you should want it very much, but you get the jobs you don't need, So if you need it to fulfill some thing in your soul, that's where it's dangerous, But absolutely, I think want it with everything you have and give it everything you've got. And then no matter the outcome, you can put your head on that pillow and say, I did everything I could do.
Yeah, and I think coaches nowadays, like you got a tough job with the youth today, but that's what it's going to take to help some of these kids is coaches that have the right mindset. And I think a lot of those kids maybe they don't even know because they're so consumed in video games. They don't even know what's out there. That once you get them on the rink, there's a new love, there's a new passion that maybe they would have never had if they didn't step on that ice.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes it doesn't work. Um, but I think parents, for the most time, know when you love their kid and you're expressing love and your actions are coming out of love. Love is
Right,
the universal language. Um, so you can't really go wrong when you're loving on someone, and people generally know.
right. And the best coaches, they love their players. They want the best for their kids, whatever level you're at. They want success and whatever's best. And you can tell that. You can tell a coach that really wants player success over just personal glory or whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah. No, I and I, think about the coaches that I had, and they're with me when I go out there and coach. They loved me well.
Yeah. And that's strong, that you still think about it today. It shows they had a strong impact, that
Yeah,
many, many years later, they still have an impact.
yeah, a big impact, man. Yeah.
So why don't we end on on music. I like talking music with
Yeah,
people
dude.
because I'm always looking for new music suggestions and
Yeah.
interested what other people like. What's your go-to? What's your favorite artists or genres or
Um, well, I'm a huge music person. I listen to all kinds of music. I do find myself listening to a lot of classical music. Uh, and like for example, I love Mozart and Bach and Handel's Messiah, and
yeah.
um, that it just there's something. It's like there's something about that really is soothing for me, and I like soothing music
Yeah.
quite a bit. But uh I'm taking my family to Ravel's Bolero at the Rhode Island Philharmonic in February, stuff like that. Uh, there's some Rachmaninoff in that same concert. Uh, uh, and I love some of the music that's on Broadway, like from Hadestown. There's some just incredible Wicked. Some of the opening act of Wicked, that song that they talk about, a defying gravity, is just an amazing piece of music. So there's so many great songs from Broadway uh, shows. Um, Gosh,
Yeah.
I mean, I think about Dead Can Dance. That if you're looking for like I'll send you a little song that I love from Dead Can Dance, which I did a movie with Sully Erna from Godsmack. Sully Erna, the lead singer of Godsmack, was in Army of the Damned with me, and he said, "Do you know about Dead Can Dance?" And so there's a guy with a encyclopedic knowledge of music, and he turned me on to Dead Can Dance, which is a great band. But I'll always go back to Pink Floyd. Wish You Were Here. I'll be on the subway. I have that on my Apple Music, and I'll listen to Shine On You Crazy Diamond parts 1 through 9. That never gets old for me. Have a cigar. Welcome to the Machine. I mean, and that album is always, and The Who. I love Quadrophenia, like, and Tommy. When Tommy was on Broadway, I saw it in 1994, and I saw it when it was just on Broadway. And the beginning of Tommy, that album is just incredible. So, um, yeah, I'm always going back to rock.
Yeah, I love classical music too. I took history of classical music when I was in college, the history of music, the history of rock, all these for like you needed electives and I always enjoyed classical music, but it got a deeper dive into it. And I'm big into like music scores and scores for TV shows. Actually, I think my number one listened to artist on Spotify this year was Ramin Djawadi, who does all of the Game of Thrones music. And
Ah,
I love the show, but some of the music I think is just so powerful and amazing. It can take you through a roller coaster of emotions listening to it. And I mean, I love rock and metal and pop and all that stuff too, but sometimes it's nice to listen to something with no words but still, like I mean, the emotions that you can feel through a well composed piece of music is just, I mean, you can sit there with your eyes closed and just be taken in a whole nother world.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, the French horn, and just something like Peter and the Wolf. If you've ever heard the classical score for Peter and the Wolf, that's another one that comes to mind. Yeah, no, we're just blessed, with the capacity to hear, so we can listen to music, and these days the technology is so great. I have this Bose speaker that's great, and the AirPods. I mean, man.
Yeah. No, we really are lucky. You think about people listening to their records and then their Walkmans, and different cassette 8 tracks and all this stuff. But now, right, you just go on your phone or computer and then, Bluetooth speakers like Bose speakers and various different speakers, um, Beats headphones and AirPods and all this stuff. I mean, the sound is so good. Even the stereos in most cars nowadays. I mean, it's phenomenal what you can
Yeah,
hear.
yeah, it's
Quality is
awesome.
just great.
And if you haven't seen the Dylan movie, A Complete Unknown, you might want to check that out, because
I that looks good.
it was good, dude. He did a great job. They all did. He
Yeah.
was that was awesome.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. I love that kind of music too. Bob Dylan, like folk music, a huge Jim Croce fan. I mean, all that, I like Gordon Lightfoot, all
Oh
kinds
yeah,
of, yeah, it's all good stuff. So yeah, I'd really like to see that movie.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, awesome, Tom. I appreciate you coming on the podcast, talking hockey and acting, and look forward to your Lawyers Gone Bad coming out, and wish you the best of luck with that, and appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much. This was really a delightful experience. Thank you very much for having me, Alex.
Thanks for listening. Please stay tuned for more episodes soon.